Ugh. Good evening. Whoa, no. We don't need these freaking filters. Stupid filters, I swear. How is everybody? What's going on? We're going to do an interview, guys. Hopefully you guys can hear me okay. You should be able to hear me really well because I've got the mic and all everything set up. You guys should be able to hear me really well. Let me know if you can't. Que tranza, que voila. What's up? How is everybody? I'm doing great. How are you guys doing? Got on my Cardano gear, you know what I mean? Just representing this evening. Of course, I heard about Warren on July 28th. No doubt about that. I definitely heard about that. It's ultimately not going to be. It's not going to be what they're making it out to be. I'll tell you that. But at the end of the day, guys, if you haven't figured this out yet, like we need regs. Regs are important. So yeah, it is good news. I mean, I was saying this earlier. I jumped on for maybe 20 minutes earlier, and I was just basically talking about how like the reality is. Sorry, I'm adjusting things a little bit here. The reality is, let me mess with this a little bit. Maybe do that. There we go. The reality is, like when I run my business, if I didn't have a set of standards to go by in the construction industry for what has to happen versus like for permits, for example, if there was just no guidelines, then people would just be all over the place doing whatever they want. And I was talking about this earlier. And so I'll say it again, like that ultimately doesn't work. There has to be some sort of a road to where we know, what's acceptable, what's not acceptable, what we can do, what we can't do, and those guidelines are going to allow the industry to be able to grow. And so I think it's super important. I think it's super, super important. I'll bring this down just a little bit. Yeah. Rubber meets the road. That's actually a really good way of putting it. Because it needed to happen. It needs to happen. But listen, don't get your hopes up too much, because I will say this. I don't believe nothing happens like that with the government, right? Nothing does. So if you're thinking that in, 20 days, the government is going to be able to come up with like regs for crypto. Now, yes, they've been working on things in the background. Don't let them tell you any different. No freaking way they haven't. But if you think that within 20 days, like regs are going to come out like that, yeah, no, not happening. Yeah, and that 7,000 that 7,000 people reported 80 million losses. Actually, hold on, let me touch on something else real quick. So you're new to crypto, welcome. That is literally like probably the first thing that people ask is Doge or Shiba or whatever. I will just give you my my opinion on it, and I don't personally. It's not that you can't make money on it, but I don't personally subscribe to the model of what I view to be meme coins or pump coins. I subscribe to the model of solid projects that are solving real world problems that are actually going to change the financial system and change things in everyday life as we know it. The reality is, Dogecoin, I actually made 100x on Dogecoin, so it's not that you can't make money. But I just don't mess with the meme coins, pump coins. So that's just me. Again, not that you can't make money, but 7,000 people reported $80 million in losses caused from crypto scams. Listen, I don't even think that's probably, I don't even know that I would even say that's FUD. I would almost say, yeah, that literally sounds like probably facts. Keep in mind though, the regulations or the 80 mil in losses to screen what really is going on in the background, to basically give you a forefront of what they want to show you, and this is why they're regulating things. Just guys, just have your eyes open. What's up, Meg? we're gonna do an interview, Meg. If you're gonna stick around, we're gonna interview Ryan. It's gonna be dope. As all interviews are, you already know. Let's see here. Yeah, guys. So I'm only gonna chat for a few minutes before he comes on here. So I'll answer some questions in the meantime, though. So sure. You just joined Ether at 2K. Fingers on the trigger. You know what? I am a long term. Ethereum's my girlfriend, right? And I always joke about that, but I'm serious. Ethereum is my largest hold, and I see Ethereum going a long way from where we're headed right now, or from where we're at right now. So I think that anything right now, anywhere that any of these prices right now in the long term are a fantastic buy. If you look back 4 years ago, right, when I got in this versus now, if you looked at the numbers, I mean, what's it going to be 4 years from now? You know, just want to throw that out there. Keep that in mind. Ultimately, there's a saying that you'll hear a million times. If you're just coming in, it's not timing the market, it's time in the market. Those who are patient will be rewarded. And I can tell you that from personal experience. And, you're going to hear a lot of sayings, but a lot of these sayings are for ultimately, you're good. So, yep. I'm always DCAing into Ethereum and Bitcoin, more Ethereum than Bitcoin personally. But that's just me. I have been snatching up, even though my entry point was super low on XRP, I've snatched up a little bit more of that recently just because I want even more exposure to this lawsuit, because I think it's going to be a beautiful pump when it does go. So I'm just looking for, some extra dinero there. If the stock market bubble pops soon, just be prepared for some big volatility. Also understand that if we can tweak our minds to look at this, like I always stress, long term, guys, the bubble popping on the stock market is nothing but a freaking opportunity for you to buy low. That's that's really it. I mean, there's no answer for how many ethers are considered a good bag. There's just no answer for that. I am going to have a different answer than somebody else. And everyone is putting in different amounts of money. Everyone has different amounts of capital to begin with, different amounts of capital to work off of. There's just no way for somebody to answer that correctly. I think a good bag is something that you are able to put in, that you're not worried about whether food's going to go on the table from that sitting there, but yet in the long term, you can see that you made sacrifices ultimately for the greater good long term. So I definitely recommend taking profits. I talk about this a lot. And I have been caught being greedy in the past. And so profit taking is super freaking important. I like to get back my initial investment and then start taking profits, and then ultimately hold at least what we call a moon bag, and see what we can do. But ultimately, the whole point here, guys, is to make money, right? And use these projects obviously to further our financial future. So yeah, let's see here. Let's see here. The person that said the answer is 32 is just saying that because that's how many ETH you need to run your own node. But if you're a beginner, you don't even need to don't even go there with that. Arthur, what's up, bruh? So yeah. Anywho. Let me get my stuff set up here. What's up, Jojo? Welcome. Getting all my stuff set up here. What do you mean? Do I want to do content? What do you mean by that? Digital asset. What's up? What's up? What's up? Arthur's taking profits. Terry says, "What up, JoJo? Hey, hey! Check the shirt. Cardano represent." Yeah. So you've got to have at least 1,000 followers to be able to go live. But if you're, trying to duet or stitch, I leave all my videos open for stitches and duets, so you can always do that. Shoot me a follow, guys, if you're not following me. Tonight we're going to be doing an interview. So I'm going to be interviewing Ri.on Crypto. We're going to be talking to him in about, 5 minutes or so. I think he's on warming up his chat right now, getting everybody in here. And yeah, it's gonna be be fun. So I'm not gonna be answering questions while the interview goes on. So just be aware of that. Just be aware of that. Let's see what we got. What we got. Talk about crypto. Oh, you're just saying, yeah. So Ryan's going to jump on here. Somebody asked what a node is. A node is basically it's a group. It's where basically Ethereum is a network of computers that's running software, right? And that basically is known as nodes, and they have to have validation. And when Ethereum runs over to proof of stake, you have to be staking at least 32 ETH to actually be a validator on a node. That's a way complex, far out idea. If you're just getting started, don't even go there. Just start investigating. What is Ethereum? What does Ethereum do? How does it work? Right? What is blockchain? What is Bitcoin? And just really start to get to know what cryptocurrency is before you get into any of the more complex thoughts and ideas. So. Just a suggestion. Yeah, we were talking about that before you got in here, Arthur. I doubt we're actually going to get a great answer by the 28th, but yeah, I don't know. Hold on a second. Yeah. What's up, Crystal? Que tranza, chica? Hey, Crystal, your boyfriend was on earlier. Well, Elmer got on earlier, and him and old what's his cousin's name? Crypto Weatherman. I can't even think of his name. Oh shoot, I can't even think of his name. But yeah, we were both on, and now we're kind of going back and forth, and they are cousins. So just so you know, you have to look. He did one. He did one back. So you know. So yeah. Ri.on Crypto in about 1 minute. Let me see if he's on. Yeah, let's get it.
Let's do this.
What's up, brother?
What's up, man? How's it going?
Good, man. How you doing?
I'm doing very well.
Look at you.
Every day's a good
You
day.
repping your gear. I need to get some merch. I actually like that idea. I've seen you wearing that before, and I was like, oh, he's got like the rated R sign with like his little thing on there. I like it. So you excited to let everybody know all about you tonight?
Yeah, I am excited. This is very different. I'm usually doing the interviewing, so it's
Yeah.
this is interesting to be interviewed.
Well, it is 10 o'clock, so if you're cool with it, let's get it started. I will tell everybody we're not answering questions in the chat for right now. I'm going to get to know Ri.on a little bit. Him and I have never actually met, so I'm just literally going to get to know him. You guys can get to know him. And then at the end, are you cool with taking some questions at the end?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, cool.
Open book, man.
All right, cool. I appreciate it. All right, so first of all, is your name Ri.on? Because I know like Wendy,
Yes.
for example, like that's not her name. Like, is your name Ri.on?
Yes, my name is Ryan King.
All right. And where'd you grow
ironic.
up? Where do you live?
So I grew up in Colorado, and I'm in between Puerto Rico, Florida, and Colorado. Getting a house built in Florida, I live part-time in Puerto Rico, and I still have a home in Colorado, so I'm back and forth
Okay.
constantly.
Do you have family down in Puerto Rico, or
No, I do not.
just
I
taking
just,
advantage of some nice
yeah,
crypto things?
definitely got into the idea of not paying as much in
Yeah.
taxes, and
Yeah.
then just kind of ran with it.
Can you
Pay the price. It's pretty
yeah,
expensive.
let me ask you about that. I know we're not going to dive deep into crypto right now, but tell me when somebody says, "Hey, you know what? That sounds like a great idea." What are the pros and cons of thinking of having property in Puerto Rico, for example, in the crypto space?
So 100%, everyone knows the tax incentive.
Yeah.
That's a great thing. Um, what people don't know is how expensive it is to take advantage of that. So you do have to hire a few attorneys, which in my case, it costed me about 50,000 just to do
Okay.
that.
Okay.
After I got everything situated, they handle all the tax things, all the financial things. I couldn't tell you anything about it because I don't know much about it.
Right.
They handle all of that. Um, Property is, it's not too expensive, but the one thing that I would say is that it's very different. And I like I like how it is culturally, but at the same time, I kind of feel like a dick, just because a lot of the island is impoverished.
Yeah.
So, you know, myself buying a $500,000 home there,
Right. Yeah.
just, it feels terrible in to some degree, just because, I can drive 22 minutes from my home, and it's nothing but just squalor and poverty. So
Right.
that's the one thing, like, it's a moral thing
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah.
But it's beautiful. Puerto Rico is absolutely gorgeous. The people are very inviting. I don't speak Spanish. My wife does, luckily. Um,
Mi
so I'm
español
still
no está
learning.
perfecta, pero si me hablas despacito me puedes entender. So, yeah, I speak
Yeah.
Spanish. So
So you
I was
speak Spanish.
about,
So yeah,
I was about,
I
I was about
very
to ask
poquito,
you.
un poquito,
I was about
very,
to ask
very
you.
small amounts of Spanish.
Dude,
So I
you
leave that
will
up to my
learn.
wife.
You will learn. Like honestly, just being around it, I will tell you. I lived with two guys that spoke nothing but Spanish, and the deal was, and this was years. I mean, I think I was like 19, and so living with these guys, I was up to no good at this point, right? That I won't even get into why I was living with, or these guys were living with me. But at any event, the deal was, hey, I'll teach you guys to speak English. You teach me how to speak Spanish, and basically what we did, and I would suggest this if you're going to be over there, I would literally use as much Spanish as you can. So what we would do was I would speak in English to them and around them, and they would speak in Spanish, or let me back that up. When I had to speak to them, I had to speak to them in Spanish and I would just try and
Gotcha.
try and try. And when they wanted to address and speak to me, they had to try to speak it in English, and I would correct them, and they would correct me and correct. And it didn't take that long, man. I think literally, especially if you're down there, I could see if you really tried in 6 months, you like really speaking Spanish, especially if your wife does.
Yeah, she does. She speaks to me in Spanish. The thing is I can kind of understand it. I just don't know how to respond. That's the only
Yeah,
thing. So if someone's talking to me, like, I totally got what they're saying.
yeah.
I just don't know how to respond in Spanish.
Yeah. Well, it'll take time. You'll get it. You'll get it. So, how old are you? Are you older than me? Younger than me? I think you're way younger than me.
I am 31.
Okay, so 6 years younger than me anyway. You got that baby face going on. So I was like, I think he's younger than me. So did you go to school? Are you in school? Went to school? Any of that?
No, I did not go to school. So I was really a rebellious child. So I always enjoyed learning, but I never liked school. I always
Yeah.
hated school. I always loved self-education. So when I was a kid growing up, my grandparents were very, very strict. My mom is adopted. She's from Korea, Seoul, Korea, and my adopted grandparents, were very strict. My grandmother is Italian, and she took no shit whatsoever. So they did not let us watch TV, play video games. The only things that we were allowed to do as kids were read, write, play instruments, or play sports. No
Wow.
TV, no radio, no nothing. My grandmother used to pick out um, one encyclopedia a week, and she would just pick out topics. And I just learned a lot doing that. And then it wasn't until I was in, I would say, like 10th grade that I just was so just out of touch with everything that was going on in school. So I finished school, but I didn't graduate school, if that makes sense. So
Okay.
I finished school in a sense of credits, but I just didn't graduate because I didn't care to. I didn't really give a shit about the diploma. I didn't care to go to college. I just simply just kind of, I don't know, made my own path. I started working. I had been working with my uncle in construction for many years. So I learned to build houses, learned to frame, learned to lay some flooring. So I went right into working construction, and then just kind of worked my way up from there, and then decided that I didn't want to work for anyone else. So I started a business, and that sucked for a while
Yeah.
because it just didn't go well for a while.
Right.
Huge learning curve. But no, I
What
didn't
was
go
the
to school
business?
for anything. What's that?
What was the business?
Oh, I still have the business. So I run a screen printing business. So
Okay.
that's why
Like,
when you see
so
the
the
merch and stuff
merch.
like that, yeah, I make it all. So
Okay. Well, I might have to get in
yeah, but
touch with you then because I've got some stuff that I'm looking at. I have somebody that I use here in town, but we might have to have a chat. So we'll talk about
yeah,
that.
no, for sure. Let me know.
So you you get out of high school, right? You basically hate school. Did you have a real direction at that point? Like, were you? Because I know for me, I like basically thought that I was going to be an attorney, and then like very quickly I realized, wait a minute, the only thing you're good at right now is partying, right? And so
Right.
until that became a problem, like I was at a point where I had like no real direction. So were you just like directionless and just said, hey, I just don't want to work for somebody, so I'll just do this, or do you like have a passion for what you're doing, or what's that look like?
No, so um, I was definitely directionless. I was definitely wandering, definitely lost, had no idea where I was going. It wasn't until my wife and I met, and then after we got married, that the direction kind of came together. Of course, naturally, when you find the better half of you, you start to discover more about yourself, and that was really what it was for me. My wife really helped me grow as a person. Um, just because if it wasn't for her, I don't think I would have grown. I think I would have grown up eventually, but I don't think it would have happened as soon as it did. She definitely grew me into just being a much better person, and thinking a little bit more long term. I was very just kind of in the moment. Whatever is happening today is happening today. I'll worry about
Yeah,
tomorrow tomorrow.
yeah, yeah.
It hasn't happened yet, so that's how that's how it started. And
Right.
then as far as what I do, uh, it kind of happened by accident, honestly. I was just kind of screwing around, thinking about it. I had seen some YouTube videos and I was like, it could be too hard. And then I started just simply like ordering, some t-shirts, some basic t-shirts, making stuff for myself. Um, and then my wife actually went to I think it was like a women's empowerment entrepreneur, some type of seminar that she went to,
Okay. Yeah.
and she met with a huge designer out of Colorado, but she's very big in California. She actually helps design for a lot of celebrities, TV shows, things like that. And then I actually got connected with her, and then the business kind of just blew up from there.
So just, but that's, you know what, that's funny because I own a construction company and I have no shame in saying that, like, I can relate to a lot of what you're saying because I honestly like was not like some crazy handy guy or like had this like passion for the business. It just basically was like, hey, I think I could make some money doing this, and then same
Right.
thing, it just like blew up from there. I think a lot of business sprouts out of necessity at first. You know what I mean? Like, hey, I'm married. I don't know if you, I'm going to ask you this in a second, but if you're married, you've got a family, you've got kids, like, guess what? The freaking bills need to be paid.
Right.
And, you know, at some point, you got to go for it. I will say, and I know you can probably relate to this, I will never work for somebody else again. The only capacity that I would do that is if maybe I had a partner in like something that I was actively doing.
Yeah.
But man, I don't know about you, but I work more than anybody else, right? I just genuinely, I know I do. But I also, you know, if my wife said, hey, you want to go to, you know, Puerto Rico tomorrow? And I'd be like, yeah, sure. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And
Let's
I,
do it.
I have that flexibility to do that. I think that's super, super cool. So you love what you're doing now, and that's what you're doing now. Nothing else, doing your screen printing business, right?
Yeah, just run the screen printing business, and of course I do crypto on the
Right,
side. Although
right.
crypto has become more of my job than my actual work.
Yeah. So what's that? So before we get into crypto, let me get a little bit more personal stuff from you. Like, what do you
Yeah.
do when you're not working? You're not. Let's say you're not. Don't give me the good answer where you say, well, I just want to hang out with my family. Give me like a hobby of yours that's like something personal that you like to do or used to like to do.
So I used to write music. When I was a kid, I wrote a lot of music, and I actually had a ghostwriting, I guess, gig where I would write for artists and things like that. So that's something that I still do as a hobby. And I like to be outdoors, so I like to exercise outdoors. Um, Being a Colorado native is just something naturally, you go hike all the 14ers. So that's something that I've
Yeah.
always enjoyed doing, and I still do it to this day. I make sure I like to snowboard, so that's something, again, just being a native. I always go back to snowboard, love
Yeah.
it. Let's see what else. Um, that's really about it. I really enjoy, like I said, anything outdoors. So I'm big on dirt bikes, ATVs, you
Yeah.
name it. Like if we can find some mud, like we're gonna fuck some shit up.
You're in it. Dude, let me ask you, why is it? So we've got friends that literally, coincidentally, just they're from here, but my wife's best friend and her husband were just in town yesterday, and they came over and we're seeing our new baby and doing all that. They're living in Colorado.
Gotcha.
Why does everyone in Colorado live a freaking active lifestyle that like does exactly, excuse me, that like does exactly what you're saying? Like, what is it?
It's probably from like infancy on. You either go hike in the mountains or you go like dirt bike and four wheel in the plains. And I think everyone is just really active because Colorado has the most sunshine out of any state. Out of 365 days, Colorado probably experiences around 260, 280 days of sunshine.
So it's like
So
La Jolla, California, or whatever. Like it's just
kind of, but
sunny
not
all
as
the time.
nice.
Right, right,
Not
right,
as
right, right,
nice in a
right.
sense of the weather, just because, I mean, it does get really cold in the
Yeah,
wintertime. But one thing that I'll say is that, I mean, the sun is always out for the most part. I mean, we rarely get cloudy days. So it's pretty interesting that, you know, I don't see why most people would sit inside. They just don't, for the most
right.
part. They go out, they go do things, even if they're just like going for walks. Like people just like to be outside. Um, I think in the last few years, I mean, Colorado has become a lot like California, good and bad. But it's very clear, as here. So there's not like a lot of pollution, stuff like that. So
Yeah,
that
I always
helps.
hear people talk about all these great outdoorsy things that they do in Colorado, and I didn't know if it was just like it just must be just overall just the culture. Like the kids are raised and their parents raised them like that, and that's just what people do. That's super cool. So give me this. Give me an off the wall like fun fact about you that like I would have no idea. Nobody would, just something that's just not known.
So what is not known about me? Probably the most personal thing that's not known about me is I am transgender. So a lot of people
I
don't
did
know
not know
that.
that. I did not
Yeah,
know that.
a lot of people do not know that.
Okay.
I was born a female
Okay.
and I transitioned when I was 23. So yeah, a lot of people do not know that.
Wow, that actually that is a hell of a fun fact. I was not expecting that. Can I
Most
ask you a
people
couple
don't.
questions about that?
What's that?
Can I ask you a couple questions about that?
Oh yeah, yeah, go for it.
So how was I have a friend of mine that's transgender as well, and I just kind of wanted to hear if maybe you had the same experience. How was that like in school growing up? Like how like what felt or how was it like different or off or what does that look like?
Um, it was terrible in it was terrible in high school. And partially through middle school. It wasn't until like everything was really divisive, of course, between men and women. Like when you're in elementary school, like when you're in gym class, or intramural sports, everything is, just everyone. So
Right.
when I was a kid, I always knew that there was something different, something off. I just always knew. My mom even told me from the time that I was like 2 years old, and she said that she was trying to put a dress on me, and I was screaming at the top of my lungs. And she knew that day. She was like, I always knew that there was something. I didn't know what to call it, but I always knew that there was something that with you, I knew it was just different. And so in school, it was like that for me. It wasn't until, you had to put a dress on everything. Um, so of course, when it came to sports, I played basketball for a long time, and it wasn't until I got to high school that I quit because I talked to the principal at my school, and I was just like, "Hey, I don't want to play girls basketball.
Were
I
you really good?
want to." Yeah, I was. I was pretty
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
So I was scouted in seventh grade. I played AAU as well.
Right.
So when it was when I was in high school, it was really difficult just because the things that I wanted to do, I was not able to do. Um, so, I mean, I had a fight with the school district and all kinds of different things. But at that point, I just recognized that it wasn't worthwhile for me to fight it. I was just going to just kind of lead my own path. And if that meant, giving up basketball, things like that, there was a lot of dysphoria just around that. Just,
Yeah.
being in a girl's locker room. I always felt like it was in the wrong place. Um,
Huh.
just being around just women in general.
Yeah.
It always made me feel very uncomfortable because I felt like I was out of place. Like it'd be if they were telling you, like, go play, women's basketball. You'd be like, what?
Right.
No, I don't want to do that.
Right. Right.
So yeah, it was a pretty miserable time in high school, and that's part of the reason why I just didn't want to. Like I said, I finished school, but I didn't feel the need to graduate. One thing
Were
is
you telling
for
people at
certain.
that point? Were you telling people at that point, like, hey, were people actively involved in this, or was this a total secret?
No, I've been pretty open about it since I would say since my junior year.
Okay.
But the thing was, I wasn't comfortable. It's weird because my mom has always been very accepting, but her and I
Yeah.
have a terrible relationship. So I wanted to make sure that it was something that I could do on my own, just because my mom has always been the type of person to kind of hang things over my head. And I didn't want her being involved with this because it would be one thing, it would just be one more thing that would just add to a very toxic relationship. So I was very open, and a lot of people were honestly not surprised. They were just like, I mean, I'm glad you finally said it, because we always knew.
Right. Right. So then, your family as a whole, how did that look? I mean, I can imagine that part of your family probably was like, "Yeah, we love you for who you are," and I'm gonna guess part of your family, maybe grandparents or whatever, were like, "Hell no!" Like, I mean, what's that look like?
100%. So, like I said, my mom has been very accepting. My youngest brother, it was weird for him. I don't know why. I mean, he's always known. I mean, I told him when we were kids, probably when I was like 7 and he was like 5. And he was just like, I don't
that you wanted
understand.
to be a boy. I mean, is that how you say
Yeah,
that at that age?
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I want to be a boy.
Basically, yeah. That was the conversation that we had.
Right.
And then it wasn't until I got older, that we actually sat down and had like a conversation about what it looked like. Um, and then my middle brother, um, he was super cool with it. He didn't really care. He was just like, yeah, duh, I kind of already figured that. My aunts and my uncles were always very accepting. They had a very difficult time with the pronouns. They still do to this day, and I distance myself from my family members for that reason, just because I view
Because
it
they
as
say she,
disrespect.
what? Because they say
Yes,
she when they're talking about you.
correct.
Okay. Yeah.
And I know it's difficult for them to make that transition. However, it's not impossible. So,
Right.
mind you, I transitioned I started when I was 23. I'm
Right.
31 now, and you've had 8 years to get used to the adjustment of pronouns. There is absolutely no reason to address me as she. It's it became bad like when we were out at dinner and my aunt was asking and then about drinks and stuff like that, and she was telling the waiter like she wants, and the waiter's just looking around like, who the fuck are you talking about? Are you talking about that dude right there? Because I can't get it. I can't understand
Right.
this.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And that was the moment that I realized that it's a choice. She's making a choice. And so, yeah, I mean, I stay very far away from my family members. My grandparents, um, it wasn't until my grandfather died, right before he died, he was on his deathbed. Um, he had he was in hospice. He had cancer. That he just told me, like, we love you for who you are, and I know that we haven't always been supportive, but I want you to know that we do love you for who you are, and we're proud of who you become. And
Well,
that was the last thing that he ever said to me, just because he died the day after. So
what a blessing, dude.
yeah, it
Yeah.
was great to get that from him. My grandmother is still alive, and um she hasn't got there yet,
She,
but he
she's
let me
not
know
there
that
yet.
he let me know that he got there. So
Right.
all
Well, that's
good.
cool. Well, yeah, not that it even matters, but I would not have guessed. So I will say that your transition has been successful because you would have never pulled that guess out of me. I would have never gone there. Okay, so how let me ask you first, how does crypto jump onto the scene? Because like when did you get into crypto? Why did you get into it? Just kind of some details behind what crypto looked like for you and what it looks like.
Excuse me.
Yep.
Oh, jeez.
Don't die on me because
um,
you'd be the first person to ever die during an interview, and I don't know how to I don't know how I'm gonna talk through that one.
no, I won't die. I've got horrible allergies,
Yeah,
so that's what's going on. So my eyes start watering. I felt it.
you're good,
It's
dude.
terrible.
You're good. You're good.
But crypto. So I got into crypto. A buddy of mine from high school, like one of my best friends from high school, was like, "Hey man, I'm off to college. Keep in touch." And I was like, "Okay." Sorry, Jesus.
No, you're good. You're good. Take your time. You're fine. We don't have a time
Thank
limit where
God.
they're gonna kick us off or something. You're good.
So he was just like, "Man, he's the smartest guy I know." So he was just like, "Hey man, yeah, I'm off to college. Keep in touch." And I'm like, "Yeah, for sure. Like, you're my bud." He
Right.
goes to college. He's studying computer science. He starts mining Bitcoin in 2010. And he's like, "Hey man, check this out. There's this super cool thing called Bitcoin." And I'm like, "Dude, you're always onto some crazy shit."
Dude, this is my
I don't
best
know.
friend in a nutshell. You are explaining my best friend. Go ahead. Continue.
So I'm like, dude, no, are you sure? And he's like, no, man, it's super cool. Like, it's like this internet money. Like, you can transact it, and you don't have to like do anything with another person. And he's trying to explain it to me because I know nothing about computer science. So he's trying to
Right.
make it sound super cool, super awesome. And I'm like, I'm not going for it. So
Yeah.
2012 rolls by. He's like, you are you gonna like invest in it, or like you gonna buy some, or you want to mine it? I'm like, nah, that's so stupid. 2013, he's like, dude, okay, come the fuck on. So finally, I'm
Because
like,
at this point he's showing you the appreciation. He's showing you, hey, it's went from this to this. It's went from this to this. It's went from this to this.
100%.
Yeah.
He's showing me. I'm like, all right, dude, I'm listening, I guess. He's like, do you want to mine it? I'm like, no, absolutely not. But he's like, check it out. Like, look how much it is. At this time, it's like, I think like $30. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool because the last time we talked about it, it was like 10 cents. So
Yeah.
that's a pretty good gain, I guess. And he's like, no, dude, but you could like do it from a laptop. Like you can. And I'm like, I don't know how to do that. And I'm like, dude, I'm busy. I'm working. Like, I don't have
Yeah.
time to do this shit. So finally, in 2014, I'm just like, okay, like, what do you do with it? I haven't bought any yet. I haven't invested. I haven't even came close to it. And I'm like, so how do you use it? You know, like who uses it? How do you use it? Who can I send it to other than you? Like, what the fuck is the
Right.
point of being able to send it back and forth between you and I?
Right.
And I'm like, can I buy stuff? Can I do anything? And he's like, well, yeah, they have to accept it. I'm like, dude, that's bullshit. Like, no one accepts Bitcoin. It's nowhere. So my brother and I get into this rabbit hole of like trading forex and just all kinds of stupid shit. Which forex was actually wasn't stupid, but the direction that we were going with it was extremely dumb.
Right.
So this is late 2014, and I'm trying to fund a forex account, and lo and behold,
It
the
wants Bitcoin.
easiest way to deposit is Bitcoin, and I'm like, holy shit, it's real! Like you really can send it to legitimate places. So I call my buddy, and I'm like, hey, dude, all right, I'm sold. You can put it places. So what do I got to do? Like, how do I buy it? Like, how do I get it? So he's like, okay, check this out. This is how you do it. This is what you do. And like another month goes by. It's like December at this point in time. And I'm like, okay, I guess I'm going to do this. I mean, fuck it. He's basically shilled me like the ultimate shill, like
Right.
Super Saiyan shill.
Yeah.
And he's like, Bitcoin. So I go to work. And at this time, it's 2015, early 2015, January, right after New Year's Eve. And I go to my employer and I'm like, hey, I need the form so that I can cash out my 401k. And the lady in HR is like, well, why do you want to do that? And I'm like, I got this bright idea. I'm going to put it into Bitcoin. And she's like, what the hell is that? And I explained it to her and she's like, oh, that's the worst idea for you, sweetie. You shouldn't do that. And she like spends 22 minutes trying to talk me out of it. And I'm like, nah, it's cool. Like I got a buddy who's pretty much sold me on it. And I'm like, so here's the deal. I'm either gonna like be poor, and you're right, or I'm gonna be really wealthy, and you're fucking wrong. Either way,
One of them's happening.
I'm here for it. Like exactly. So I cashed out my 401k in February, and I still don't know how to buy it. So I call my buddy, and I'm like, hey, dude, I don't know how to buy this shit. I don't understand how to like do the PayPal through the other thing, through the other thing. I'm just gonna come to you. He's like, no, it's cool, dude. He was like, I got the Bitcoin. I'll sell it to you. I'm like, cool.
You did an OTC deal with your buddy.
I did. So I go to his house, and he's like, yeah, man, I'm so stoked. Like, he sets up the wallet for me, and I'm like, wait, this is some like high level shit. I don't know how to do any of this. So he shows me, he sets up the wallet, and then all of 2015, I'm checking the price of Bitcoin every second of the day.
Yeah.
And of course, I'm a noob, so I'm thinking like, oh my God, it went down. I gotta sell it. Like, I'm gonna lose everything. And then the next day, I'm like, it's up. Oh, I'm gonna be a millionaire.
Right.
And the next year goes by, and I'm just like, okay, I've like tripled my money, dude. Like, this is legit.
Yeah.
Good shit. I'm ready to go. And he's like, no, dude, you're doing it wrong. Like, you don't sell it. I'm like, what? What the fuck? Like, dude, I had like $5,000
Right.
and it's like
Right.
15 now.
Right.
Why
Right.
would I not sell?
Right.
And he's like, you don't understand the potential. You have to read the white paper. And I'm like, what the hell is a white paper?
There's a white
So in
paper. Right?
2016 is when I start all my education. I
Okay.
know nothing about blockchain. I know nothing about Bitcoin. I know nothing. So naturally, the first thing I do is get on YouTube and try to figure out what the hell's going on with the white paper. It took me about 4 months to break it down, but I got
Right.
it.
Yeah. Because
And
it's
then
confusing when you first get into this. It is. I don't care how techie smart you are. Like,
it's a mind
it's
fuck.
freaking a monster. I mean, it's like,
Yeah,
huh? Yeah.
exactly. So it took a long time. I finally got it. So late 2016, my buddy comes to me and he's like, "Hey man, I've got I got this coin that I think like everybody should be buying." Like, and I'm like, is it like Bitcoin? And he's like, yeah, kind of, but it's like way cheaper. And I'm like, okay. So of course it's XRP, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a fan of XRP, but I didn't care at that time because I didn't know shit about shit. So I was like, okay, XRP, yeah, for sure. He's like, just put like $1,000 on it. Do you have $1,000? I'm like,
Yeah.
no, I don't have any
Yeah.
extra money because I have kids and daycare and
Right.
rent.
Yeah.
So no, I don't have $1,000 just to throw at XRP. I was like, but what I do have is time. So I'm gonna go get another job. So I got another job and I started throwing money into crypto, dollar cost averaging into Litecoin, into Ethereum, into Bitcoin, of course. And then once I had $1,000, I bought Ethereum, which only took about a month and a half to save up. I was delivering pizzas, so the tips were great.
Yeah.
Next thing I know, I bought XRP, and 2017, boom, 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 fireworks. In 2018, I bought XRP for 7/10 of a penny. It blew up to $3.70 some odd cents. I sold
Yeah.
it at $3.18.
Wow.
And then I amassed more wealth than I've ever had in my entire life. And
Yeah.
then that's when I decided, I was like, hold on, I got to get fucking serious about my education in this because this is going to change the rest of my life.
Right.
And then after the bull market 2018, I dove into every single blockchain book, anything that I could learn about smart contracts, decentralized applications, how Ethereum works down to the bone, um, how Bitcoin works, how to understand everything that goes on the blockchain. I went down that rabbit hole 2018, all that year, 2019, into 2020, looking into more projects, and then really, put my money where I thought it was going to be. And
Yeah.
in 2020 was when Bitcoin actually broke its all-time high. That was the first time my crypto portfolio had hit over $1 million, and it was the first
Wow.
time that I had ever seen that much money in my
Right.
life, and I was just like, wow, this
Yeah.
is fucking life changing. And then
Nutso.
2021, my mom and my wife were like, why don't you get on TikTok? And I'm like, no, that's for kids, of course.
Right.
But here I am.
And that's actually leads me into what I was about to ask you. So, okay, so you get into crypto, you make a freaking ton of money. You're like, I love this. It's great. It's pushing me forward. You've got a screen printing business. You've got a family at this point. You've got kids, and so this is what I'm interested because I know my story like this just literally just started like a month ago in terms of the TikTok thing. Um, how does that conversation go and why? Like, why do you have a ticket? Why does a 31-year-old man, just like the 37-year-old man here, right? Why are we sitting around on a freaking Thursday night, right, talking crypto to 75 of our closest friends right now on the internet? You know what I mean? Why did you get into TikTok?
So I got into TikTok, just recognizing. So I'm a huge fan of Gary Vee, and I I definitely take everything he says, and I'm like, he's been talking about TikTok for over a year
Yeah.
now,
Hmm.
and for me, I was just like, nah, I can't get into TikTok. I downloaded the app. My son was actually on Musically first, and so I downloaded the app, and I'm scrolling through, and all I see is a bunch of kids, doing
Hmm.
this shit, and I'm like,
Right.
what am I gonna do on here?
Right.
I can't
Yeah.
dance and do crypto.
Right.
So I had to rethink like content wise, and then actually Blockchain Boy and Wendy O popped up on my For You page one day, just because I'd been scrolling through some crypto content, and I was like, wait a minute, there there's actually potential in
Yeah.
talking about crypto. And at the
Yeah.
time, it was really only them and Mason, Crypto Mason.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I mean, the space is not super saturated. We
Right.
definitely could get a difference of opinions. I'm just a guy who knows some things, but I can offer some unique perspective the same way
Yeah.
that you can offer a unique perspective just because we all
Right.
come from different walks of life, which I think is super
Mhm.
awesome about crypto.
Yeah.
You know, there's the classic, underdog story. Wendy O's
Yeah.
got, classic underdog story.
Yeah.
Same, I have a underdog story. And then we have like Blockchain Boy who's 20, like
Right.
who's just began his journey, and I mean he's
Yeah.
gonna kill it in 10
Oh
years.
yeah.
I can't wait till the decade's over because he's just gonna
Oh yeah.
be huge, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and then you got Mac and Cheesy, who's got like
Yeah.
such a cool, like smooth personality that just
Yeah.
offers something completely different.
Yeah.
And I love that, like World War Bitcoin. And then we have Crypto Weatherman, where he's extremely smart, borderline nerdy.
Yeah.
It's awesome because then we all come together, and we're all here for the exact same thing.
Yeah.
So that's why I got into TikTok, because I was like, man, perspective. That's like
Yeah.
what I
I
have to
freaking
offer.
love it. I ultimately, and it's kind of crazy, and I think my wife still thinks I'm crazy, which is funny. My wife's about 10 years younger than me, and I'm the one that's on TikTok pursuing, whatever it is that I'm pursuing on here. And but it's so cool, man. Like literally, like with me and BDB Unlimited, Miguel, we're about
Yeah,
to push out a show that's going to be on. We're going to push it out to Theta. We're going to push it out to YouTube. We're going to push it out to a number of different live streams. It's a really freaking cool idea. We're investing a little bit of money, a couple ideas, whatever. But I think what's super cool is like these are all people you and I would have never met. There's no reason that we would have met. There's no reason we'd have a conversation like this, right? It just wouldn't
right,
happen. And I literally like was on the phone and texting like Tim, Crypto Weatherman, earlier today. Like
right,
I'm becoming friends. Like Crypto Brandon and I talk a lot, right? And
nice,
so it's cool because I literally have this new set of friends that, whereas before, I'll be honest, part of the reason I got into TikTok was because I had a very limited couple people, and the people that were into crypto that I knew were just XRP. And for whatever reason, and it was people at my church, and for whatever reason, like I'm super close with those people, but they're just some of the XRP stuff for me, though I hold quite a bit of XRP, I just don't. You've seen it probably some of my video where I kind of make
right,
light of some of these huge prices and stuff. It's just not my. I just don't believe that it's going to be like that. But yeah, man, I freaking love it. I love the fact that if I right now wanted to talk about the fact that is Bitcoin gonna bottom out at 30 or is it gonna go past? Why? And I could get a different perspective from you, from Tim, from Crypto Brandon, from Miguel. Like literally, just pick up the phone, and it's just freaking cool. And then you've got Crypto Wendio was awesome to do her interview. That was super fun. Crystal Lee on here. She's just a great, like a vibrant personality that's just
yeah,
infectious in turn. You know what I'm saying? Like it's
yeah.
just freaking cool. So yeah, I'm super glad that TikTok is ultimately provided. So what does that look like then for you? So how many followers do you have right now?
I think like 26,000, something like
Okay.
that.
So is there a quote goal with that in terms of looking a little bit farther down the road? Is there something that you're ultimately trying to do? Are you selling a bunch of merch? Are you like, what's kind of what you're looking for?
So I have merch, and that was based on just requests that I was getting.
Yeah.
And naturally, it was easy to kind of segue into that just
Yeah.
because I own a
Oh
screen
yeah.
printing business. So
Right.
um, that was simple. But yeah, the merch is just for that. The end game is more so for the podcast and the YouTube, which
Yeah.
is supposed to be out. I'm doing a terrible job, but that's because my basement flooded, and
Yeah.
that was
Oh yeah, you were
that
telling me
was
that.
awful.
You were telling me that last week or whatever. Well, then what's that?
Yeah.
So tell me about your podcast, because I don't know. We're all doing so many different things. We've got 20 different things going on, businesses, TikTok, YouTube. Blah. It's so hard to
Yeah.
keep up with everybody. Tell me about your podcast.
So the podcast is called The Huddle Neighborhood, and it's just that. It's supposed to be community. Um, it's not supposed to be kind of this place where what I found on other platforms and podcasts is that it seems to be like almost like crypto elitists versus everyone else. And it's not
Okay.
so much community. We don't have people that are inviting to, the newbies in the space, the people who
Yeah.
don't understand how to use anything other than Coinbase.
Right.
Um, and I feel like a lot of people get a lot of shit for that, especially, the new people. They don't know any better to not chase shit coins that
Mm-hmm.
are doing 100,000x. Humans are naturally going to go chase that. I mean,
Yeah.
just the natural greed that we have, we're going to go
Mm-hmm.
chase that.
Yeah.
I don't feel like it's my responsibility to save anyone from that, but I think, it's kind of like that corny. I was actually watching a State Farm commercial when I thought of the name, and it was like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. And I was
Yeah.
thinking, like, yeah, like in crypto, we should all be like neighbors. Like we should be good neighbors to one another. So rather
Yeah.
than I saw so much hate between like Bitcoin and XRP, and then everyone's the Cardano and the
Right.
Link Marines, and I'm like, like we're all here for the same reason. I myself,
Right.
yes, I'm a Bitcoin maxi. I'm not a toxic Bitcoin maxi, but I am a Bitcoin maxi. I My end game is all Bitcoin. That's
Yeah.
just what it is. I see the value in Ethereum, though. I'm not ever going to devalue Ethereum just because I'm a Bitcoin maxi. Like some of the maxis, I feel like have just got too toxic for the space where they're just like, no, everything outside of Bitcoin is a shit coin. It doesn't have value. And I'm like, that's fucking ridiculous.
Right.
If you look
Yeah.
at Ethereum, of course there's value. So the
Yeah.
neighborhood is supposed to just kind of bring that. You can disagree with your neighbors, but you guys are still neighbors. So
Yeah.
that's the reason why I created the Huddle neighborhood, where we can get a difference of opinions, where we can
Yeah.
get, XRP maxis, where we can get, Link Marines, we can get Bitcoin maxis, we can get ETH maxis, all in the same place, sharing different perspectives and learning to accept and respect one another, because what I see on crypto Twitter is the exact opposite of that. Some of the things that I'm seeing on TikTok 100% resemble that. It's just there's
Yeah.
no respect in the space. So that's
Yeah.
pretty much what I'm trying to accomplish with the podcast is just, uniting the crypto space.
I like that. Are you ultimately, is it you and one other person, or is it like multiple people? What's that look like? Like what's the shows look
It's
like? When are they?
Yeah, it's multiple people. So um, anyone that wants to be on the show, and it's not just influencers or who people think we are. Um,
Right.
I tell people all the time, like if you hold crypto and maybe you just want to have like a Q&A with a few other people who are a little bit more experienced in
Yeah.
crypto, I'm cool with that too. I want to have shows like that where someone who's inexperienced in the space, kind of like how Clubhouse is, but not with 10 million people talking at once, but
Right.
just having an open platform to just have dialogue with one another, about what's going on. And so yeah, that's what it is. It's really anybody.
No, I like that a lot. I agree with you. I don't know why the crypto space is, on one hand, the things that we were talking about, where it's like it's awesome and it's good people and we all talk and get, but then on the other hand, It's true. I mean, there's literally, I don't know. I have never understood exactly what you were just saying. I've never understood. Okay, so for me, if so, I don't think I'm an anything maxi, but I always joke and say that Ethereum up here is my girlfriend, right? That's what I always say, right? And I just love Ethereum, right? And I love what it brings to the space. However, I don't understand why then. I also have on a Cardano t shirt, right? Well,
Naturally.
Cardano, the Ethereum killer. Like,
Right.
no. I think that Cardano can bring something to the space. Ethereum can bring something to the space, right? Then you've got Elron can bring something to the space. And like all of these projects, though all of them aren't going to stick around ultimately, there is a lot of good projects that bring something to the space. So I don't know either. And it baffles me. Like, why do I have, because the majority of, and you know this, the majority of, you call yourself a Bitcoin maximalist, the majority of Bitcoin maximalists will openly tell you like exactly what you just said, like everything else is crap, like Bitcoin is it, ultimately that's it. So let me ask you that. So when you are taking profits, which I'm sure just because you learned lessons like I have to not get too
Oh yeah.
greedy, right? I learned one in May of this year. Um, are you constantly taking profits in Bitcoin as you go and you're continuing to stack, or what's that look like for you now? Like, what are you actively stacking and what are you doing right now with your portfolio?
So kind of. I kind of have two strategies. So I do take profit in Bitcoin sometimes. But depending on the price of Bitcoin, I'm usually taking profit, especially in like the bull market, what we were in
Yeah,
prior to the big dump. I was not taking profit in Bitcoin. I was actually taking profit in a stable coin and then dollar cost averaging into Bitcoin. Um,
right.
so I actually took profit. The crazy thing is I took profit on Matic at $1.13 and $1.18, and I had been in
Mm-hmm.
since it was like 1 or 2 cents. That was my
Yeah,
average price. Um,
yeah,
and I took profit in a stable coin. And I remember in the back of my head, I was telling myself, like, man, I should take profit in Bitcoin. And I'm so glad I didn't because Bitcoin was up around 63,000. I
yeah,
got a chance to dollar cost average right now at 30. I'm getting an average cost of about
yeah,
32,000,
yeah.
33,000, which is
Right,
amazing. So that's kind of
right.
my strategy. But at the end of the day, I do get rid of most of my altcoins. I see no reason to hold them long term just because I know for a fact that many of them won't be here.
Yeah,
I do hold Ethereum even through bear cycles.
yeah,
I know that Ethereum will be here.
yeah,
And I also don't look at Ethereum like when people say altcoin, I don't really look at Ethereum as an
yeah,
altcoin. I feel like Ethereum has definitely had its time to really prove what it is. So
yeah,
I think it stands alone the same way Bitcoin stands alone. So there's
yeah.
Bitcoin, there's Ethereum, and then I see like altcoins. Um,
I literally say that exact same thing. I just don't look at ETH anymore as an alt. Although technically, if you want to look at what the market
sure.
says, sure. I totally agree with you. So then that brings me to this then. So are you, at the end of the day, you're just looking to have as much Bitcoin and I guess Ethereum as you can. And so
Mhm.
when this bear market comes in, you're not trying to sell the top by any stretch of the imagination. You're going to ride this back down.
No, I won't sell. I won't sell Bitcoin, just because I truly believe it's going to be more and more difficult as time goes on to accumulate.
Yeah,
Um, the
I can
supply.
see
So
that.
what I look at a lot of times is the on-chain analytics, which is what most people don't look at, which is how much Bitcoin is actually on exchanges, how much Bitcoin is moving around, the top 100 or 1,000 wallets, how much Bitcoin they actually hold, um, how much Bitcoin is lost in wherever.
Sorry, I had to block somebody. Go ahead.
No, you're good. So there's so many things that I look at and I'm like, no, I can't sell it because if I do, I may never be able to get this coin back. So I don't sell Bitcoin. I typically will sell. This time around, I'll sell Cardano. In 2017, excuse me, I'm sorry. Um, I did not sell my Cardano, and I had dollar cost averaged into Cardano all the way up to its all-time high. So that was brutal, holding Cardano all the way back to like 2 cents.
Right.
But I still bought
Yeah.
more
So
just because,
you rode that back down to
yeah,
2 cents.
all the
Yeah.
way.
Okay.
That
Yeah.
that was interesting. That was actually it was really weird to see something, lose 95% of its value. No, I had never really experienced that before, but there's a time and a place for everything, and Cardano was it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my strategy. I'll sell off most of the alts. I'll probably keep about maybe 10 to 15% of the V chain that I have. Um, Same thing with Cardano. I'll probably keep about 10, 15% of it. As far as everything else, I'll probably keep Solana, a little bit of Polkadot, but that's really it. I probably won't keep anything else. I was considering keeping Theta, but I don't think I will. I honestly think I'll just
Yes.
be holding ETH, Bitcoin, a little bit of Cardano, a little bit of VeChain, a little bit of Solana.
Okay. So the only thing that you're not going to actively actually take profits from is going to be Bitcoin. And then
Correct.
ultimately when you're taking profits just for the new, I always like to cater to the newer investor. And correct me if I'm wrong, but you're taking profits in a stable coin to allow you to actively engage in when you are actually dollar cost averaging, as opposed to, hey, it's time to take profit and flip it straight into Bitcoin. That's why you're doing that, correct?
Correct.
And do you,
I don't see the point in trying to call the top or the bottom of the market. It's nearly
yeah.
impossible to do.
Oh yeah.
I tried to do that in 2017.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely will wreck you. I mean, I lost like $200,000 just trying to play that game in 2017 into 2018 when everything was going parabolic. ETH was going parabolic, Litecoin went parabolic. At that point in time, XRP, same thing. It was impossible to call the
Yeah.
top, and
Yeah.
I was still trying to figure that out. So I learned my
Mm-hmm.
lesson. I won't do that. Um, I'm cool with not grabbing everything that's on the table. As long
Yeah.
as I get most of what I came for, then I'm okay with that.
Well, then where do you think, and everyone always wants to ask this, especially right now, because all of the, let me preface this with the fact that you know this, but all of the, especially people that are just coming into the space that have kind of maybe a shorter term, hey, let's see how quick I can make some money kind of view, or they bought the top and now they wrote it down and they're like just freaking out. So I know you're a long-term hodler, but that being said, like what where do you think we're at right now in the grand scheme of things for this cycle?
So this cycle is a little bit different than, of course, the past few.
Mm-hmm.
But what I see right now is I think that the market is just heavily manipulated
Mm-hmm.
because the big players in the game, they want to play, but they're not
Yeah.
going to play with a $65,000 Bitcoin. Um, not when it was $30,000. I think it was what 4.5 weeks prior. They just
It
were
was
not
yeah.
going for it.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I think that the market is manipulated in that aspect. I think the price has to be low enough right now, um, in order for there to even be a Bitcoin ETF. Like I said, these institutions are not going to be, they have to hodl the Bitcoin the same way that we have to, especially if there's an ETF. So now there's a race, for the Bitcoin ETF, but no one's gonna buy it at 60,000, 70,000. So it's manipulated. I do believe that we're in a bull run. I also believe that the technicals are shifting in a sense of typically we've used the 21 EMA as, or I guess it'd be the simple moving average, but moving average nonetheless,
Okay.
to decide where the bull market is at. Whereas standard in stocks, equities, any market, you typically are using the 50 and the 200 EMA,
Right.
at least the large, traders, and huge hedge funds, things like that. They're using those moving averages. So I think that we're switching as far as from a technical standpoint, the charting, what it looks like. Um, I do believe that we will resume being bullish because it just would make no sense for this to just to drop the way that it has. Um, I mean, I could be wrong, but
Yeah.
I highly doubt that this is it. Again, I look at on-chain metrics that tell me a very different story.
Yeah.
Um, whales are hodling like crazy. They are, I mean, they're in extreme accumulation mode. They're not selling, not even a little bit. The
Right.
volume on exchanges is really, really, really low. It's actually the lowest that it's been since 2020. So what we're seeing behind the scenes is people are buying Bitcoin. They're buying a lot of it, and they're storing it cold.
Yeah.
That comes with a supply shock. Not now, but in a few months, in a few weeks, and
Mhm.
of course in a few years, that comes with supply shock as there, is only, I think, about 17 or 18% after this halving. There's like 17% left of Bitcoin. There's really
Yeah.
not a whole lot left.
Yeah.
So we're at a really small percentage of Bitcoin that's left. We've got
Right.
the rest of the world waking up. We've got Mexico
Hmm.
waking up and Argentina introducing bills. Market manipulation, we're in for a huge run, but the institutions got to be in on it too. So what we'll see is that manipulation for these price points so that we can get this accumulation before the rocket takes off. And then I think um, I think we'll see that relatively soon, just not tomorrow, like most people
Yeah.
want.
Right. Well, I mean, yeah, I totally get it. I always try to encourage people two things. One, the fact is, if the price points are low and you feel like, oh my gosh, like I can't believe like it's going to go to Z. If you feel that way, again, I don't ever give people financial advice, but I feel like that's actually once you get a little bit more seasoned, that's actually almost the best feeling you can have because that tells
Right.
me that the prices are getting really low, right? And you have an opportunity sitting in front of you. And I like to tell the newer investors that um, I get just like I know you get waking up and seeing your. I don't care if you have $10 million in a portfolio or $10. If you see 10 million turn into 5 million overnight, you're going to be sick. You see 10 grand turn into 5 grand, you're going to be sick, right? You see $10. Listen, it's half of your portfolio, right? And so I guess what I am always encouraging is just have that longer term outlook like you have, where it's like, hey, long term, this is a blip on the radar. What do you ultimately see? Like, what if you were to give a price prediction of Bitcoin in 2030? What would you guess?
I'd say by 2030, we definitely at that point have flipped gold's market cap. So we're looking at a 400 to $700,000 ranging Bitcoin
Yeah,
by then.
yeah,
And that's just because, like I said, Bitcoin. I have a comment here that says that what if like they move away, or if we move away from Bitcoin, and I just don't see that happening just because there's true scarcity in Bitcoin. There are other assets that are scarce, of course, but not
yeah,
true scarcity. We
right,
have the finite number, 21 million. That's it. We don't
right,
have a finite number for gold. We don't have a finite number for diamonds, emeralds, any of those things, silver, um, platinum, you name it. We don't have finite numbers for those. So I don't think that the world is going to move away from Bitcoin. I think that the world is going to wake up to Bitcoin because it's portable, it's divisible, it's secure, it's true property. And that's part of the reason why it will always stay. Um, I don't think that it'll stay king by any stretch of the imagination. I do think that, you know, in the future, at least by 20, I would say like 2027, 28, ETH should be number one
yeah.
just
I
from
agree.
general volume. Like, again, I'm a maxi, but I'm not an idiot. These
Right,
things don't lie. The market has already decided that Ethereum, I mean, at the height of the bull market, Ethereum had what to double before it flipped Bitcoin.
right,
I
hmm,
don't see that being impossible. So
right.
Bitcoin
Yeah,
will
no,
definitely stay.
I'm definitely with you, and the manipulation side of things, um, it's not a tinfoil hat, guys. Okay, so this is not Ryan and I sitting here, right, with literally our tinfoil hats on, saying, "Oh, just trying to encourage ourselves because it's got to be manipulation." Like, guys, there's actually metrics here. Let me make it real simple. If you ultimately, if the volume doesn't back up these large for the noob, right? If volume is the amount that's actually being traded, right? Like being sold, bought, whatever, throughout a day, throughout a certain time period of a day. If there is a massive move without volume, that means that something is happening with one of the big dogs in the back room, or in the background, that's making that happen. And we saw a lot of that with this last dip. And the reality is this: they don't want to scare us enough, right, to actually exit the market. They want to basically, if you're a fish, they want to dangle that worm right above the water and keep touching the water so that you're ready to bite and then they will drop it in when they want you to bite, right? And it's just facts. I mean, if you don't know that the stock market is manipulated, you're crazy. If you don't know that Forex is manipulated in a more grand scheme of a way in terms of how money
100%.
actually works, you're crazy, right? So and at the end of the day, that's what crypto is. And so understanding that, what would you give, like what would be advice that you would give to the newer investor, and they're just coming into crypto, prices are where they're at right now, and they're looking to really figure this thing out? What would be your advice to that person?
I'd say for newer investors, the one thing that I wouldn't do is look at price short term. Um, if I had looked at price from 2015 all that year, um, Bitcoin dropped like 150 times that year, probably that month. Like it's always been volatile. So if you're
Yeah,
starting out with Bitcoin, I wouldn't worry about price action in the day. I wouldn't worry about price action in the week. I probably wouldn't even care about what's happening month to month. I would look at a long-term strategy that would tell me having to having. That means every 4 years, has Bitcoin appreciated? Not from all-time highs, just from that every 4 year marker. And if we look at the historical value of Bitcoin, that remains true. If you
yeah,
look at where Bitcoin has been, or if you look at Ethereum or some of the alts, you can see that, I mean, they've appreciated over time. One thing that you can say is that, Bitcoin typically returns about annualized gains of about 200%,
200%. Yeah,
average.
yeah,
So to me, that's a pretty good bet. But in order to achieve that, you need volatility. There's no way. I get a lot of people that are new complaining about the volatility. They're like, it's so volatile. And I'm like, well, how the hell else would you get 200%? You
yeah,
gotta add some volatility to get 200%. If
yeah.
not, you're gonna be stuck with the 8% that you get in the S&P. That's
Mm-hmm.
just how it works. The
Yeah,
S&P is volatile, yes, on a day-to-day basis, but if you look at on an annual standpoint, it's not very volatile. It's very, very stable. Stability means there's really no room for gain. So the trade-off is that yes, Bitcoin, crypto is volatile. However, the upside potential is so damn great because of that volatility. So I would look at it as changing your perspective. Stop looking at volatility as a negative thing. It's a positive thing. Volatility means that the market is alive,
yeah,
which is good.
yeah.
Everyone's complaining right now. They're like, "Where's it? It's not moving?" And I'm like, "Well, you didn't want volatility. Here you fucking go. This is what it
Here
looks
you
like.
go.
It's dead as shit. It's been
Yeah.
at 33,000. It's been ranging between 30 and 35,000 for like 3 weeks. And everyone's like, I hate this. I'm like, what do you mean? This is what you wanted. You wanted no volatility. This is what it looks like.
Yeah.
You want violent price action. No,
Yeah.
you don't want it to the downside, but that's just how it works. We just had a $3,000 Bitcoin a little over a year ago.
Yeah.
And we had a $60,000 Bitcoin in a 6 months time frame.
Yeah.
That kind of volatility is going to follow with a 40-50% drop, which is what we saw. So
Right.
invite the volatility, love the volatility. Don't pay attention to the daily price fluctuations. They don't matter. Have a long-term strategy, and ultimately don't listen to what other people are telling you about things. I hate XRP. That doesn't mean don't go put your money in XRP. That does not mean that. It just simply means that Ryan hates XRP.
Right.
You should follow your convictions and stick with them, because you never really know. How to listen to the people that told me in 2014, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, and still today, 2021, um, I would probably still be working in the same warehouse that I took out my 401k from. Had I listened to the woman in HR, I still remember her name, I won't say it,
Yeah.
but had I listened to her when she tried to talk me out of it, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. So stand your ground with conviction, whatever it is. I mean, if you're investing into Cardano, stand on it. Just because people are saying that Cardano's shit, it doesn't have smart contracts, it'll never be valuable, that does not mean that it's true. That is someone else's opinion. So don't let anyone else's opinion sway you. Um, and don't pay attention to the FUD. There's tons of it. There's always going to be that in the news. I stay away from a lot of the news. I keep up on the news, but I take everything with a grain of salt, because I know that media has a lot of power to persuade people. And I go through a news aggregator that shows me, every single news article, and 95% of them are negative.
Yeah.
So stay away from the news, and, just invest with conviction and take the stance of this. It's going to zero. Be like an options trader. It's either going to go to zero, it's going to be worth nothing, or this shit is going to change my life. And
Yeah.
I think I'm living proof this shit changes your life. So
Yeah.
if you wait, if you're patient, it didn't do it overnight. It didn't do it the next day or next week. I didn't hit a Shiba or a Doge, but it does happen.
I am, for anybody that's followed me for any sort of time, they know that I am not, don't come to me asking about pump coins. And when I say don't ask me about it, I'm not saying like, oh, I'm too good to answer that. I'm not saying that. I'm saying
Right.
I don't like them, right? The funny thing about the funny story about how much I don't like pump coins is that, and I don't know whether you've heard this or not, but I had $11 left over of dust from a transaction. And everybody was talking about Dogecoin. It was at 0.002. And I was like, this is so stupid, but what am I going to do with this extra $11? Let's just see
Nothing.
what these, and this is what I was thinking. And I'm just being full disclosure. I was like, let's just see what these idiots can push this price to, right? It was literally me just like thinking, like, this is dumb, right? And yeah, I sold at 22 cents. I 100x'd. And it's like, dude.
You
And
gotta
here's the
love it.
thing, guy. And here's the thing, like, I can't sit here and kick myself and say, man, I knew I should have put a big chunk into that, because here's exactly what Ryan's saying. I would have never held. And the reason I wouldn't have held is because I don't have any convictions with the meme coins, with the pump coins. And so that's probably the biggest reason. Listen, you can make money in this market on literally anything, okay?
Anything.
You can also lose money on anything,
Anything.
right? And so I think it's just really important to understand that as long as your eyes are open to what you're investing in, as long as your eyes are open to, hey, this is this project, this is what it does, this is the use case, this is what it can do, or hey, here's this coin. If a bunch of people talk about it, you're going to make some money. As long as you know on the front end that's the case, right? And you're willing to take that risk and understand that, hey, if a bunch of people don't talk about this at the right time, you're going to lose money. um, then hey, if people want to gamble, then go ahead and gamble. I don't personally look at crypto as a whole in high quality top tier projects as a gamble. I look at it same way I do the stock market. Guess what? The stock market could absolutely collapse tomorrow, and I could be holding Apple and Facebook, and all the FANG stocks. I could be holding all of that, and for all of the professionals, they would look at my portfolio and they would say, "This man has great quality projects that in the long term are going to do very well." Right? The reality is, short term, I could absolutely lose my butt from just something happening. And so
Sure.
that's why I encourage you to have those convictions, because ultimately, since I believe in it long term, that's why I was able to stomach. I have told this before, but I had a six-figure change in my portfolio overnight on May 13th or whatever day that was. And I think it was right around, it was within a couple of days of May 13th. And the only reason that I didn't just absolutely just like throw up everywhere is because I said, you know what, like long term, this is not, I mean, it sucks right now. I feel it. I hate looking at my portfolio and seeing a much smaller number and all of that.
Right.
But hey, the reality is long term, because I know what I'm investing in, it's we'll be back there in no time. So ultimately, you believe that we're still in a bull market. We just have some time to see. I personally think we've only got a few more weeks before. I think by the end of July, I think we're going to start like seeing some changes again. Are you thinking farther out than that, or
I think honestly, what I'm waiting for is grayscale,
okay?
just because we need
The
Bitcoin
18th.
to move. So
Yeah.
anytime grayscale unlocks, World War Bitcoin talked about this, and he was
Yeah.
checking on some on-chain things, which he actually gave me a little bit of insight, just because those were a few things that I didn't know. I did not even think to correlate it with some of the on-chain data, um, but he did a really good job of illustrating that. So what I'm looking at ultimately is when grayscale unlocks, um, and depending on how this, I guess, like regulatory conversation goes,
Right.
and kind of the news around that, and when the hash rate goes back up for Bitcoin, when
And the
Bitcoin
Jack
moves,
Dorsey, the Jack
yeah,
Dorsey and
Jack
Elon
Dorsey,
Musk, I think
Elon,
will do
right.
something. Yeah.
So those are the things that I'm looking at right now. It could be July. I've got my sights set on early August, rather than July. I do think that, I don't know, for some strange reason, I think a lot of people are eyeing July. And if it truly is manipulated to the degree that we believe it is, if
Yeah.
everyone's eyeing something, they're not going to move it. They're
Then it's
going to
not.
move it when everyone least expects it. And I'm thinking that they're just going to hold it off, probably like a week or two. The same way that it works like in Forex when the FOMC meetings happen and the chart is dead. Like every single one of the currencies is just stagnant. It doesn't move. And then the next thing you know, like it's not weeks, but it'll be like 4 hours into the next trading session, and then it'll just have like this huge move out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And that's because no one was expecting it. Market makers are good at that. So I do believe that we've got some crypto market makers. So
Yeah.
I'm looking at August.
No, I agree with you. I would also say a lot of people were saying that, well, the institutions are here, so the volatility is going to slow down. And I can't tell you, my initial reaction was, listen to yourself. You're literally saying that the best people to play the game are showing up to the court, and you don't think they're going to play the game. Like this is literally what they do. They scare you and shake you out of your freaking bags. So when
That's
I
right.
first heard because the big money's here, I was like, the big money is big money because they're able to do what they're able to do, and part of that is shaking the tree. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, they're
And
good
so
at
yeah,
using volatility in their favor.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
of course, naturally, they're going to do it. I mean, the institutions, think about it. A lot of people look at traditional investing. models. So you've
Mhm.
got, your stock market. People look at their 401ks. The only reason why you make money is because large institutions move the market.
Yeah.
That's the only they're taking advantage of the volatility and then, throwing you a few pennies for, leveraging your dollars to move the market. But
Yeah.
no, they're taking full advantage. So if people think that the institutions are going to cause the market to be less volatile, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I mean, what we witnessed in the last 6 months with Bitcoin's price action is an example of institutional money. We got Elon buying, Michael Saylor just buying more Bitcoin than anyone
Mhm.
has. I'm
Yeah.
about to kick that dude in the balls, man. Like, he's got to stop buying all the Bitcoin. There's going to be like none left.
Yeah, it is wild, and I think that um, there's too much going. The only reason that I really look at saying, "Hey, we're still in a bull run, and we've still got time to turn back around." There is, and I think you and we're gonna have to talk more often because this has been great. Um, there's too much just positive information, fundamentals in the market
100%.
for this to be over, and it just doesn't make sense. And so for the new people here, if you just want a little bit of opium, as we call it, how could we possibly, and this is just my thoughts, but how could we possibly have literally a dozen, and here's the interesting thing, we probably got a dozen of the most bullish Bitcoin news articles to come out ever. And here's the thing, you're going to have to search for them, right? And what you're going to see is you're going to see every single little negative article that you could ever even come up with to try to press it down. Why would that happen? This isn't tinfoil conspiracy time. This is reality check time. The only reason is because they either A, need time, which I do think is part of it. I think they need time to position themselves to figure out how they're going to make their money on this. And then B, for them to accumulate. You're absolutely right. Even though they see it long term as being $500,000 or more or whatever, well, $500,000 from $30,000 is, a 16, 17x. A half
Yeah,
a
we're
million dollars
16x
from
away.
65, a $500,000 from $65,000 is about a 7.5 or an 8x. And when you're talking about dealing with hundreds of millions or billions of dollars, guess what? We're talking some wild difference. Even in the price of Bitcoin being a couple $1,000s different, if you're buying in large quantities, it's big. It's
Oh, yeah.
really big. So I
Big time.
just, yeah, for sure. No, I'm super glad that we did this. Hey, I do want to ask you. I always ask everybody this. So I'm going to ask you. Um, if you could be a superhero, what superhero would you be? And if you can't give me an exact superhero, tell me what superpower you would give yourself. I always make sure to ask this one before we stop.
Let me see here. As far as superhero, um, I mean, he's really not. I guess he wouldn't be a superhero, but I'd be Hulk.
Okay. What
I'd be
like
Incredible Hulk.
what about the Hulk is like you're like, heck yeah, that would be just fantastic.
Um, my son, who is 2, absolutely loves Hulk,
Yeah.
and his favorite thing is, of course, the Hulk smash, where he has like enormous power to just smash everything.
Yeah.
And I would, I don't know if you've ever been to one of those, what are those rooms? I guess, I don't know what it's called, where you get to like to take out all your aggravation and you get to like smash shit.
Oh, I've never even no, I don't even know what that
They
is.
have like these like anger rooms, like where you
Really?
get to like, you get to beat the hell out of things. I don't know.
Okay.
I've seen one. I've never actually went, but they have them. So they basically like give you like a baseball bat, rage room. That's what it's called. Thank you.
A
So they
rage
do have
room?
rage rooms, and
Never
basically you get to
never
like
heard of that ever in my life.
take out all your rage on everything. They have like old TVs that you can pick up, you can break, you can hit it with a baseball bat or a golf club. You can break glass, all kinds of stuff. It's incredible. So I'd want to be Incredible Hulk to smash like shit in real life, like things that I could never really smash. Like I could smash a TV, no
Yeah.
problem. If I could pick up like a damn dump truck and slam it, I feel like that would be incredible and amazing to do.
It would be incredible, and therefore you would be the Incredible Hulk, right?
Correct. Yes,
That's
100%. But yeah,
that's
I think it'd be him. Yeah, I think it'd be super cool to be him for one moment and be green. I've never been green, so
let's take, if you're cool with it, if you don't have to jump off right this second, I wanted to take a couple questions. Is that cool?
no, let's do it.
Guys, if you've got some questions, go ahead and shoot them out there now. I'm going to take some questions here. Let's see what we got here. You have anything good over there that anybody's asked you yet?
No, everyone's been pretty respectful of the
Yeah.
rules that been set out. No
Okay, so
comments. There have been a few.
somebody said, so the hedge funds are actually controlling our money. What, like, can you answer that?
So the hedge funds, I wouldn't say that they're controlling the money, but if you look at some things, I guess of the order of the operation of how things work. So number one is the Fed, and right now the Fed owns more securities than anyone else. So they do control your money. The Fed controls your money. So they own the securities. Thus, they're deciding, the hedge funds, they work hand in hand just because they are trading these securities. So, inadvertently, yes, they do control your money, um, but it's not from the hedge funds per se. It's more so from the Fed and these funds working together. Um, Unfortunately, we live in a society, full of cronies. That's just what it is. The Billionaires Boys Club does exist,
Yeah.
and they're not including me, you, or anyone else. We don't fit that wage, so we don't get to be a part of that conversation. So, hedge funds, no, not controlling your money directly, but in some way, shape, or form, yes, they are controlling a lot of your money and monetary policy just because they own the
Yeah.
politicians.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. Somebody wants to know what you think about H bar.
I don't like HBAR. Just because HBAR, the issue that I have with XRP is not XRP in itself. It's just that it's centralized, just the consensus. So the reason why I like Bitcoin is just because of proof of work. The consensus is, of course, decentralized. Anyone can run a node. I don't have any issues or qualms with Ethereum, although it is a lot more difficult to run a node on Ethereum, which makes it semi-centralized. And anything that's proof of stake is centralized. So with HBAR, I do like the architecture of hash graphing, the DAG architectures, whereas a blockchain is just kind of like a bunch of blocks stacked. This is just kind of like shooting information and crossing it in between. I like that because I feel like it's 10 times more efficient. However, I don't like the consensus. The fact that it is these 30 companies, um, they're already monopolies, and then they're making decisions about the governance of this particular coin. Just doesn't sit right with me because they already run shit. You want it to be fair and even, whether you have zero point zero 0.01 or 1 million of these things, and I can't get down with HBAR for that reason. Um,
Okay.
However, with that being said, again, I will full disclaimer this. I don't like HBAR. However, I do believe that it will do extremely well. I personally do not own any, don't plan on it, but I do think that HBAR will do very, very well.
So let me ask you this. This is coming from me. You don't believe in a project, but you do believe that there is a very good chance that a lot of money is there to be made.
Mm-hmm.
Where's the line where you have this? Is it like an ethical? Is it just an absolute cryptocurrency like purist? Like, what is it that says, hey, I know I can make money on that? Because like I was talking to Lucas and
Hmm.
Blockchain Boy,
Love that
and
guy.
he won't buy XRP, nor does he have it, but he openly admits that it's going to rip when they win this lawsuit, right?
Oh, 100%.
So what's the thought process there for people that are wondering, wait a minute, like why?
So for me, it's more so just because I don't want to be over diversified. Um, I didn't buy into H bar. I buy everything in the bear markets. I don't buy anything in the bull cycles. I just don't. I pack my bags early, so when everything is has no price action whatsoever, the chart is stagnant, that's the best time to buy. So that's when I'm accumulating.
That's so
So
smart.
that's one reason why I won't buy it. Just because I haven't bought it, I didn't buy it, so I don't plan on it now. And sometimes there are projects I've learned. There's there's hundreds, thousands of projects that will likely do well. Um, it is not advantageous for any person to chase every single project that will do well. And for me, as a trader, I just know that chasing the market is just no good for anyone. So I don't chase projects, even though they'll do well. XRP will do extremely well. I have a little bit of XRP, not much. I probably have whatever was left over from 2017, which is probably not much. Honestly,
Right,
maybe a couple hundred, maybe 1,000 coins. But
right,
I look at that as same as what Wendy O says. It's a moon bag. If
right,
XRP does make it to these astronomical numbers, which they likely will not, but who
right,
knows?
right,
I never thought we'd see a $65,000 Bitcoin this soon. I knew that we would see it. I just didn't think that it would be this soon. From 2018 and 19, I was just like, no, I couldn't fathom a $65,000 Bitcoin. But here we are.
right,
We've
right,
hit it. We're there. Can Hedera hit $20? Maybe. I don't know the future. What I do
right.
know is that it's got potential. It's just not for me.
I think I can totally relate to the fact that you just can't invest in everything. I don't even care if you had all of the money, right? You just
Right.
literally can't just invest in everything. And I'm with you. I consolidated down from 24 assets down or 23 assets down to four. And it ended up being a really good move for me. I feel really good about it. And when I took profits in that consolidation was me taking profits, but I took profits in the form of stablecoin, Bitcoin, and Ethereum, and I think it was a great move. So that leads me into what are your top five coins? Somebody just asked that.
My top five. I guess for
I like to
games
call
or
them
for what I
I like to
hold.
call them assets. I don't know. I don't like the. I've heard BitBoy
The
say this
term
too, but
coins.
I don't like the cryptocurrency thing. I don't know
Gotcha.
for whatever reason the way that we're taxed, the way that it's being viewed as property. Like I like to call it an asset. But in any event, top five. What do you got?
No, that's fair. Of course, it'll be Bitcoin. Right after that, of course, is going to be Ethereum. This is going
Okay,
to be a very generic list just because typically it's what I
that's okay.
hold.
Yeah.
Um, I've got VeChain, of
Okay.
course, Cardano, and for the number five spot, um, I don't know which one I want to throw in there. There's a lot of projects that I like. Like I do like Phantom. I like Anchor. Um, I like Kusama as well. That one was it did pretty well for me. Um, I don't necessarily like Binance, but I would
Yeah.
have to say um, a project that I probably have a hard time letting go of. It's the only project that I haven't taken profit on, which is the Graph. I feel like the Graph is a really, really solid, undervalued project that is overlooked by tons of people because they don't have sexy marketing.
Yeah.
It's just what it is. Um, so I do like the Graph. I'd probably put that at number five. And then I'd tie number five with Graph and Solana. Those are
Okay.
two of them that I'm big fans of.
Yeah. Those are good projects. So I wouldn't normally, guys, I wouldn't answer this question, but I think they would. I'd want to. You can give me a generic answer to this, but they're basically asking like, so I think it's so that they can gauge like how crazy your portfolio went. When, if you don't mind, if you don't want to answer this, don't answer. But they want to know how much did you take out of your 401k when you originally took that money? How like what did you have there to put in? I think they're trying to gauge. Hey, he turned it into over $1 million. I think that's what they're trying to gauge.
So I know what people are thinking. They're probably thinking like, oh man, it was like 20, 30, 40, 50,000. It wasn't even close. I had $4,700 after tax.
Really?
I went to my buddy with $4,700.
High freaking five through the camera here, bro.
100%. It was $4,700. And again, I didn't have any extra money after my bills. I mean, my whole income went to daycare for my children. And then my wife's income went directly to the bills that we had. And then we probably were able to save $120, $130. So I got super, I don't know, just like pumped about Dave Ramsey. My cousin like shilled Dave Ramsey to me, and I was listening to it, and I was like, yeah, that makes sense. But this whole cash is king bullshit, like I can't get with that because cash is literal garbage.
Yeah.
So I did everything. I got out of debt. I was working my job, but instead of allocating the money that he says to a 401k, I was putting it into crypto. So I started buying Litecoin. I started buying Ethereum at $8, and then at $13 and $20 and $24 and $50. I just kept buying it just because at that time, $50, I was just like, I'm going to spend $50 on bullshit anyway. I used to be a sneaker collector, and I just woke up one day and realized that I had like a couple grand worth of tennis shoes in my closet.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, like this money I wasted, but I'm going to do something differently. Like I'm going to make a change that's going to provide generational wealth for my family, for my kids.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to spend it on bullshit. And ultimately, like, I didn't have any money. Like, I was flat ass broke when I started investing into crypto. If it wasn't for my buddy selling me the Bitcoin, like, he gave me everything that I was able to get. No fees, nothing. He charged me nothing. He just wanted me to get into it because he told me early on, like, man, like, this could change your life, man. Like, this could really set you on a path. He's like, you've always been smart. You just hate everything. You just hate life. And to a degree, he was right. Like, I just was not satisfied with my life. But
so is he still hodling?
He is. Yes.
Like,
so in 2017,
so
he sent me
crazy.
He's done extremely well. So he's 1,000 coiner.
Okay. Wow.
He has more than 1,000 Bitcoin. And that's from the early days of mining. He sold off a pretty big stack in 2017. Early 2017, when Bitcoin hit, I think it was a little over 10,000. That is when he broke multi-millionaire status.
Yeah.
And he sent me a text, and it was a picture of some Lambo keys, and I thought like he just like Googled the image, so I was just like, oh, that's cool, bro. Like you got cool ambitions and big shit popping that's gonna happen. He's like, no, bro. I'm like, what do you mean? And he's like, dude, he sent me the pink slip with his name. I'm like, fuck you, man. I'm like, I'm so proud of you, dude. And he's like, no, man, like this is what it's gonna do for you. So you just hang tight. And that was the moment, because people always ask me like, why didn't you ever sell? And that was the reason, because him and I grew up in the same neighborhood. Like he's been like my best friend since like first grade. This has been like my buddy that we used to break shit in the neighborhood. Like we broke like 4 windows playing baseball in the cul-de-sac. Like this
Right.
has been my buddy through it all. So to watch him grow and us grow, and he purchases a $500,000 vehicle in cash, no payments, no nothing, is incredible. So
Yeah.
I was just super stoked for him. And at that point in time, I just was like, HODL's it. You can't sell. You can sell one day. I plan on selling one day. Not everything, but most of everything. Maybe buy an
That's
island.
incredible, dude. My chat says A, you owe your buddy, and they also say B, you're a freaking living legend. That literally is in my chat right
that.
now.
I appreciate that.
I think
I do owe him so much. He just won't let me pay him back. Like I've literally told him, like, dude, whatever, you name it. And he's like, nah, man, like, I just want great things for you. And I'm like, you're a true fucking friend, man.
That's a real friend. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's so freaking cool. So I actually want to end on this because this is a great question to end on. What would you say are your well, I'm going to ask you one more after this, but I want to, as the last question from the audience, what are your top 5 coins that you won't get into but that have really good potential?
Top 5 that I won't get into.
It's a really good question. I like that.
Yeah, that's a great question. I will not get back into, I'll say, XRP.
Okay.
I will not get into HBAR. I will never get into Doge. I do have Doge still. I've never sold it, but I never actually really bought it either. My buddy and I used to send it back and forth to each other when we would play Madden, and whoever won or whoever lost the bet, we would send Doge back and forth with the memo that you're a bitch. So that's how that worked. But yeah, Doge, I'll never buy that. Let's see here. There's one other one that I'm just like, no, that's a negative. Hex. I will never buy Hex.
Don't even get me started on that.
Have you been harassed by the Hexicans too?
The Hexicans, that's a freaking great. Oh man, now I have not heard that.
That's the crypto
fantastic.
Twitter term, Hexicans.
Well, see, you know what? I'm not big into the Twitter, into the crypto Twitter as much. I just have heard it's very hectic,
it's a terrible
very
place.
chaotic, very toxic. So I've kind of stayed away from that. The Hexicans, but yes, man, literally all. You know how it is. You start to have some followers, and then people start faking your account, right? So I get that almost every day. That's annoying, but you report them, whatever. And then you get these projects that literally shill in your chats. You know what I mean? Oh, greatest project of the year, or this is gonna change your life, like whatever. Like I just don't know how they think that that's actually going. Does that really work? Like when I see it,
you'd be surprised. Honestly, I think it does.
Really? I mean, I guess they wouldn't probably be doing it if it actually long term wasn't working. But man,
I mean, isn't that how SafeMoon started?
Yeah, I think so. You're right. Yeah, so we're on the same page all the way around. It sounds like with that. So yeah, dude, this has been a pleasure. Let me ask you parting words for the newcomer for crypto. What's your parting words going out on the interview tonight?
My parting words for newbies to crypto is stay a while. That's it. Just stay a while.
Well said. I'm with you. I couldn't agree with you more. Hey, we need to get together and do some more live streams. Like, 100%. Do you do lives people joke because I'm live all the time, like all the freaking time. You probably see that I'm on quite a bit. Do you jump on live very often or just randomly? Or?
I haven't since my basement flooded. I've been, of course, dealing with that, but that's pretty much taken care of. So I'll be back jumping on live. I usually go like 3 times a week, 4 times a week. So
Okay.
anytime, but just shoot me. I'll DM you my number. Just shoot me a
Yeah.
text,
Cool.
and we can get on whenever, dude.
Yeah, I'd love to. I just love hearing. I love doing a live where it's two of us and we can run back and forth. Like, and
Yeah.
even when we totally disagree on something, because I feel like somebody like you, there's just a bunch of people that can actually have like a mature, just, hey, this is why I don't agree
Conversation.
with that, and then just talk through it as opposed to being some huge, screw you, you're a loser. You know what I mean? It's like,
Right.
get out of here. Yeah, dude. DM me your number and we'll definitely get together soon and chat again.
100%. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you so much to everyone that tuned in. This was
Guys,
awesome. Let's do this.
if you're not following Ryan, you guys click on his little thing down in the corner, shoot him a follow, and yeah, I appreciate each and every one of you. Ryan, I'll tell you what I tell all my people. If nobody's told you before today, I freaking love you, and I hope you have a great night, dude.
Awesome, man. Appreciate it.
I'll
All
talk
love
to you
to
soon.
you.